Hello everyone. In this video we'll learn about ordinances. You might have heard that the Modi government has recently passed many ordinances. A few like insurance, coal and land acquisition. And there's been a lot of controversy regarding the use of ordinances. So in this video we'll try to understand what exactly is an ordinance and what is the controversy all about. First of all, ordinances can be promulgated under Article 123 in the Constitution of India. There are certain conditions which are mentioned in the Constitution itself. First of all, that both houses of Parliament should not be in session. So even if one is not in session, an ordinance can effectively be made. Secondly, it is necessary to take immediate action. So there should be a necessity for you to be promulgating an ordinance. And the third necessity for whom? Who is to decide that it is necessary? The Constitution says that the President is satisfied. But obviously in a parliamentary form of governance, President effectively means the government of the day. But an ordinance has the same force and effect as an act of parliament. So in its effect, it is no different from an act. An ordinance basically just means that instead of taking a bill to the parliament and getting the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to pass it so that it becomes an act, the bill goes to the president directly when the houses are not in session, and the president says that okay, it is really necessary to take immediate action on this particular issue, so I will through the power conferred in me by Article 123 of the Constitution proclaim that this is an act, so to speak. So this is the basic of an ordinance. Okay, but what happens after it has been promulgated? Firstly, it shall be laid before both houses of Parliament. So it's not that once the ordinance is made, it is just forever and it is never going to be laid in front of the Parliament. It has to be laid before the Parliament, both houses of the Parliament. Secondly, it ceases to operate at the expiration of 6 weeks from the reassemble. So the ordinance is promulgated when the Parliament is not in session. But once the Parliament comes back in session, after that, if 6 months pass and nothing is done about the ordinance, it shall cease automatically, or we can say it can lapse. But also it can be disapproved earlier. So if the houses of Parliament say that okay, we do not agree with this ordinance, it can be disapproved, and also it can be withdrawn by the president. So let us say some ordinance was formed which for certain expedient circumstances, but after 1 month the need is not felt anymore, so the president can withdraw the ordinance. Now, what is the issue? What is the basic problem if somebody is using an ordinance? To understand that, we should note that there are 3 branches of the government as such. First, not in any particular order, there is the judicial branch, the legislative and the executive. So what does the judicial branch do? It judiciates on the laws which are formed. So the laws are there, the judiciary interprets those laws and passes judgments in accordance with those laws. Who forms the laws? That is done by the legislative. So what does the executive do? It enforces the laws. So the executive has its own machinery and it enforces the law. Now the legislative is basically the parliament, judiciary you all know. Executive is basically the government of the day, so the ministers, that is the executive. So our constitution says that there should be a division of power between these 3 branches, and they should primarily look at their own function and not interfere in the other branches' functions. Now the problem with ordinance is that the executive is making the laws directly. So if the Prime Minister or the President, obviously as a proxy of the Prime Minister, is making a law, it is not going through the legislative process. So the executive is directly making the law, while that is not exactly the normal function that was envisaged for it by the Constitution. So that is the basic problem in an ordinance. Now, to expand that further, what is the issue? First of all, there is no discussion on an ordinance. If there is a bill tabled in the Parliament, you might have seen Lok Sabha TV or Rajya Sabha TV, there are a lot of discussions which happen on the bill. A lot of speakers put their points for and against the bill. It serves as a source of information to people and in the formation of popular opinion. So people get to know the nitty-gritties of the bill if they choose to, and they can find out what the bill is actually all about and what is the opposing view on it. Now, in the case of an ordinance, because there is no discussion, people obviously do not get to know anything about the bill. Secondly, when the bill is tabled in the Parliament, there is a system of committees. which are supposed to have experts, and also they can take in opinions of experts from outside the parliament, and they can get them to give opinion on the bill. Now, obviously, without the bill being tabled in the parliament, this entire step is also bypassed. Another thing in a bill is that if the opposition comes with a particular viewpoint, the bill can be amended before it becomes an act, and those opposing views, if they are, let us say the government also agrees with them, they can be incorporated. But in an ordinance, no view of the opposition can be incorporated. Another important point is that the image of the government suffers when they bring in an ordinance, because it tends to say that you are an autocratic government, you do not care about the viewpoint of the opposition, and you are behaving in a very dictatorial manner. And a fourth point, which is not an issue right now, but it is a fear in the minds of people, that an ordinance can be repromulgated multiple times. There is no bar in the constitution which says, let us say if an ordinance has been brought for 6 months and after that it has not been passed or it lapses, it cannot be brought in as an ordinance again. So if you keep on repromulgating the ordinance, you will effectively make a farce of the parliament. So these are the basic issues why ordinances are not preferred in general. Now, what has been the state of ordinances in the country? This graph shows you how many ordinances have been passed in the past. So you can see in the red, this shows that 99 ordinances were promulgated during the period of Indira Gandhi from 1971 to 1977, and it's common, let us say, opinion that was one of the more dictatorial phases of Indian democracy, and which is also can be seen from this ordinance graph, that more ordinances effectively mean that you are curtailing the voice of the opposition, and this is what is corroborated from this graph as well. Now, by the Modi government, 9 ordinances have already been promulgated by the Modi government till date. So, like I said, it's not really a very pleasant situation to be in. Now, what exactly are the reasons? Why is the Modi government going in for so many ordinances? First of all, NDA government does not have majority in the Rajya Sabha. Now, like I told you, first let us see the condition of the Rajya Sabha. Out of a total of 245, NDA holds 60 seats in the Rajya Sabha and the others have 185. So as you can see, it is nowhere close to a majority, and there is a fear that if the bill is tabled in the Rajya Sabha, NDA will not be able to pull the bill through in the Rajya Sabha. Now, just to tell you, bills are of two kinds broadly. One is an ordinary bill and the second is a money bill. Money bill is one which has major financial implications, and ordinary bills are generally all the other bills that you see. Now, if it is a money bill, then it can be passed even if Rajya Sabha disapproves of the bill. So you do not need a majority in the Rajya Sabha to pass a money bill. But for all the ordinary bills, the bill needs to be passed both in the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha for it to become a law. Now, what happens if the Lok Sabha passes the bill but Rajya Sabha doesn't? The Lok Sabha can send it back to the Rajya Sabha once, otherwise it can call a joint session. Now, in a joint session, all the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha participate together, and the majority is seen from this joint setting. So, as far as Modi government is concerned, if there is a bill which the opposition members are not willing to accept, then there is no way that they can get it passed in the Rajya Sabha alone. What they will need to do is to have a joint setting of the parliament, and then also depending on the numbers of the other parties who are in support, it can get its bill passed. Like I said, joint session of Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha. But Mr. Modi is in a hurry to get the economy back on its feet, and there have been statements by their leaders in the past also saying that the country and the economy cannot wait for any longer for sort of the procedural aspect, and they say that okay, we are the government, and because we have the mandate of the people, we will bring in the laws that we want to, and we will bring them fast. That is the reason they are bypassing this entire system and going in for the ordinance route. And you might have also seen that Rajya Sabha has seen major disruptions right now. Again, reason being that Rajya Sabha, the majority in the Rajya Sabha does belong to the others. Now, with the NDA winning many state elections, the the condition in the future in the Rajya Sabha is set to change, where the Rajya Sabha will see more and more seats going to the NDA, but that will happen over the years. In fact, majority is not projected to be there with NDA till 2018. So they still have a long way to get there. Now, UPA invited the charge of Ordinance Raj from the BJP, with the current Finance Minister Mr. Arun Jaitley then calling the use of Article 123 an abuse of the legislative power to issue ordinances. But now Mr. Jaitley is fighting criticism over the slew of ordinances in the fortnight after the close of winter session of Parliament as a demonstration of the firm commitment and determination of the government to reforms. Now, in the beginning I told you that for an ordinance, the Constitution says that there should be a necessity for promulgating an ordinance. Now, in none of these ordinances has any necessity been explained, that why was it necessary to bring in the bill right after this Parliament session closed? Why was the bill not tabled when the Parliament was in session? Why is it that they cannot wait for some more time to bring these bills in the budget session? So none of these necessity clauses have been told. There has been absolutely no discussion. There has been absolutely no consultation with the opposition. So these are the charges that the government is basically facing as far as their ordinance route is concerned. Now, this is a classic debate of means versus end. Now, let us assume that because the Modi government has the mandate of the people, so whatever they desire is what the people desire, and they are bringing in the bills which effectively are what the people also want. So let us say that the end that they want to achieve is perfectly justified. But are the means also justified? Are we saying that by doing this they are they are behaving in the spirit of the democracy? That is really a big question mark. So because what happens is with something like this, there will be a weakening of institutions. And we have seen in the past, it is not a subject matter of this particular video, that whenever institutions have been weakened, it has had very, very long-ranging impacts, and it has not been good for the country in general. So this is a debate where everybody can take their own sides and they can decide whether this actually is weakening democracy or not, because democracy at the end of the day is about having a consultative procedure with the opposition and with all the stakeholders, and coming up with a solution which is optimal for the country as a whole. But if we bypass all the discussions and the party in power just enforces its will on the people, even though they have got the majority from the people, is this really what a democracy is all about? Another thing is that even the people, the government does represent the will of the people, but with this kind of an attitude, the people do not get to know what the bill is all about. There is no discussion in the parliament. So effectively we can say that to some extent the democracy is hampered by excessive use of ordinances. But I leave it up to you all to form your own opinions on the matter. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Comments and suggestions are welcome.